So the track's called Be Alright. It's by Dean Lewis, and he's joining us right now on Soundcheck. And Dean, I'm pretty sure you're our first guest from Australia, so we're breaking new ground here.
Mate, well, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, no worries. What's the situation looking like in Australia, like live-wise? Because I imagine it's quite a different picture from how it is here.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't really affected us that much because I guess they closed the borders here pretty quick, and we're so far away and isolated from anywhere in the world. So I think people are starting to book shows in smaller venues. I think they're doing them in the next couple of months, I think. Yeah. But we haven't been as affected down here just because of just distance, right? And they shut it down really quickly. So it's almost life as normal, pretty much. It's just obviously you can't do big shows, and it's affected obviously events and stuff. But it's all coming back, hopefully. It feels like
you're in a pretty beautiful city. I mean, I saw on your Instagram story, you just went for a quick walk around the coast, like beautiful blue water and beaches. If I was to do that around here, I would not find that in England. So you are very, very lucky to be where you are.
Yeah, thank you. No, it's a beautiful place, man. I love coming back here, and it's like feels good to have because I was on the road for 4 years, so I didn't really have a home. So it feels good to finally be at a place with all my stuff in it. And there's a beach really close. I mean, I'm in Australia, so wherever you walk, there's a beach. But it's really cool.
We just played Be Alright, and that has just, it became and has become just enormous, and it's almost like its own machine. Where is that song at with you? Does it feel still like your little baby that you created, or has it just something completely different that people have just taken and run with? What do you feel? Yeah,
well, I think having some time away from the songs on the album, because, I put that out, I think it's almost 3 years ago now, which is crazy. And I was so in it and so anxious and stressed, like I always am when I finish a song, even though we thought this was the song. We thought Be Alright was like the big song, you know what I mean? I guess I've been able to look back at it now from a bit of time and perspective and go, oh, I can see why this is special, and kind of being able to appreciate it a bit more. Because I think when you're in it, it's really hard to really hear the song, because there is so many things surrounding it, like the pressure of a record label saying, this is your shot. We're going to put a lot of money behind this. Is it going to work? When you finish the song, when you get it mixed, when it's produced, when you release it, how it's strategically put out, if it's received. And then within all that storm and chaos, every day you're catching up and we're getting added in Switzerland. Well, we're getting added we're Radio 1. We're in Belgium. We're getting added to these radio stations and playlists on Spotify and Apple Music and stuff. It's like, it was so crazy. And the whole time you're on this, I don't want to go back to how life was before. No. Do you know what I mean? Living with my nan. So that's it was kind of at the same time, all this pressure. But now I can look back at it and go, wow, this does sound like a good song. I can hear it and appreciate it.
That makes me so happy that is where you're out of it. Because you do hear a lot of people that they hear it so much, or they get to a point where they never want to play it again. They never want to hear it again. And they look past the fact of what it did for them.
Yes,
I'm so pleased to hear that you have taken the positives away from it. You said before on several occasions that you write from quite a selfish place, or when you write at your best, you're writing from a selfish place.
Yes.
That might sound odd to a lot of people, but all it's ever done is proven to work.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting thing to say. I think I hear a lot of artists, they're always like, I write songs for other people, and people might do it. But I always think some people are just saying that because, I mean, I can only talk for myself, and I'll talk for myself and just say, when I've been in those rooms where like you have you start writing with people and things as you get bigger, and you're in those rooms, and then someone will say, let's make it more general. Let's make it more like for anyone. Don't like less specific and less personal. And when I look back on my first album and go, the songs that connected Half a Man, Be Alright, and Waves were all super personal and super specific. And those are the ones that connected. And I find that if I was writing these songs for anyone else other than me, like they wouldn't be as good, because my drive is to make it great. And I have to like it. It has to be really personal. And if it's not that, if I'm doing it for someone else, well, then it's not going to mean as much to me. I'm not going to sing with as much conviction. I'm not going to be as driven to finish it. And then people won't be able to relate, because I think when you try to be more broad and you try to be general, I think you actually can miss more. So that's what I mean by being a bit selfish in my writing.
I think that's really interesting, because obviously, like you say, if you were writing a song that was like one of these, they say that fall out of the sky, and then you were to pull it back from that, and you were to stop writing about what you were actually writing about, if that makes sense, then the people that are listening to it, they then can't connect, because you're just a normal person that has, grown up in a normal society with normal people. It's only now that you've gone on and done like amazing things and had amazing success, but you still relate and you still write about the things that everyone else has experienced. And that's the beauty of what you do, basically.
It is I think there's a whole other host of problems and things that appear when you start to have a bit of success. And it's also hard to write about those without sounding like a whinger as well. Like I thought, like Falling Up, to me, my new song is about that. It's about dealing with dealing with like always thinking the next thing is going to make you happy, and sort of realizing that it never does and never will. But it's sort of, you come across and you go, well, this is something that everyone can relate to on a human level, even down to like getting a job. But I do worry that I can come across like a bit of a whinger. It wasn't like The Streets, Mike Skinner he put an album out when he was like, it was like, I forget what the name of it, but he was just talking about what it's like to be like when he'd made it. And I don't think it did very well, although I'm a massive fan of his, but I thought that was kind of funny. Cause you can't write about all those things. But still, I think if you bring it down, it's everyone can relate to things. And I still do. I mean, I got signed at 26 or 27. Like I was on the other side for so long that I don't think I'm the man. Like I don't think I'm like awesome. I just can't take it on.
It's interesting you say that, because a lot of artists are cautious of that, going down that route of being too specific, and Falling Up is a great example. Not to jump the gun, because we're going to get into that properly later, but it is very specific, but whilst it might not be in the same context, I'm sure there's a lot of people who relate to that. And it's a lot more strong, that connection, when it's actually like real and authentic.
All right, this is Stay Awake from Dean Lewis. We'll get more, and we'll get his brand new song on very soon. Stay right there.
Back when the first album was still the main focus of things, and I remember you said you were quite reluctant to feature any artists other than yourself on that, out of fear that it would kind of like dilute the vision you're going for, which I totally get. But now that the debut album is out there and you've got a more solid base of music, has that changed at all? Like your thoughts on collaborations and features and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I did a song with Martin Garrix in the interim. After I put my album out, we did this song. So that was kind of, I guess, for me, but it's sort of like not part of the album, which was fine. I still think the artists that I sort of admire and sort of see myself sort of in the like almost classmates with, I guess you'd say, or maybe they're doing a bit better, but they've been out for a while. I like that they do albums. They have albums. There's not like features, and it's just them. And I like that they write a lot of songs on those albums by themselves. And so I think for me, the feature thing, I'm still not really sold on. I think my idea is every time I do an album and then I finish it, when I'm in the interim of writing the next one, I'll do a feature in between just to keep things going and stuff like that. But it's not really my style. For the feature, I just like the idea of having a whole album that's just me. I think it's almost rare nowadays, and I also don't aspire to be. My manager would kill me for saying this, but I don't aspire to being Ed Sheeran. Not like I can. It's not like I'm going. If I had that opportunity, I could do it. But it'd be amazing to be. But it's like my goals are like, I want to keep growing and be bigger than where I'm at now. I want to do bigger shows, but it's not like I'm not looking and going, I need to be the biggest artist in the world. I want to just keep smashing it. And I want another big song. But that answers the question.
I do not doubt that it's on its way. Another big song. Can I just really quickly ask, how did the Martin Garrix collaboration come about? Where did he? Because you mentioned it in an interview I saw. You said, I'd love to collaborate with someone like Martin Garrix. And I can't remember, you said someone else. And then I think that was before. I mean, you could have just been hinting a future song.
I probably was hinting. Yeah. It was actually weird. There was a song that I'd written called Gold, and it was actually a good tune, and it didn't make my album. And Martin Garrix's team had heard it. I don't know how. And then they wanted to use the song. And I was like, I haven't finished the album. I was sort of thinking about it. I'm like, oh God, I love Martin Garrix. And I was like, I don't know if I'm ready to do it. And then the album finished and everything. Then I was like, when we had a chat, I was like, mate, use it. Absolutely. Go ahead. Feel free. He was working on that. And then he goes, I was back in Sydney, and he just messaged me. He goes, he FaceTimed me, and he's such an energetic guy. He's like, Dean, listen to this new song I'm working on, man. And he's just like, just literally FaceTiming his face. It's like this. He's like literally just FaceTime like this. And you literally see his forehead, and he's just like face doing this while you can hear the drop of, and it was like these piano chords. It was Used to Love, but it was the piano chords and these melodies that were just like da ba da. Like it wasn't the right. Like the melodies were kind of sort of locked in, but the lyrics weren't there. And usually when I write, I usually come up with sort of the initial idea and the melody and the lyrics, and then we build it from there. But he just sent me it, and I was in bed at 1 a.m. and I just opened my phone and I started writing the first things that came in my head, which was which is probably 70% of lyrics we kind of kept. Was like that, walking through the door of this old and lonely place. And
wow.
And then I basically went to Amsterdam for like 3 weeks and just became really good friends with him. He's amazing. That guy's he's literally, the word genius is thrown around a lot. He works so hard. He has so much energy, and he's such a great dude. But that's how it happened. And I spent
those super producers literally seem to just travel the world for like a decade and then just disappear, don't they? They literally DJ, do 2 sets a night for 3 years and then just disappear.
Yeah, well, he just goes back to his bloody epic house, and he's got like 2 studios in there and a cinema and all this stuff. It's so cool. And he just works. He's just always like, hey, check this idea. And he's like playing me songs of featuring people that are just, you're like, this is coming out. You're like, it's a whole other level that I've just a whole other work ethic. You know what I mean? He's got so many things going on. It's incredible.
Yeah. Right. Let's get back to you though, because that is what we're really interested in. You've been quite active on your social media recently, and to promote the song and, just let your fans know what you're up to and stuff. But the latest thing you have done is put out quite a touching paragraph and a reflection, a reaction to the last year and last month, I suppose, of putting out Falling Up. You were also talking about having the difference between going around the world, like you said before, how it was like Be Alright when it was getting sent to different radio stations around the world, and Europe and London and America, and you were able to go to those radio stations and speak to them. And obviously now it's doing exactly what we're doing right now, which is through Zoom. Yeah. What is your reaction to that right now? Like after putting that message out, what have you thought about it?
Yeah. So, I mean, look, the thing is, so when I put out, I mean, even Waves 5 years ago, and then Be Alright obviously went big. And then the songs after that, like 7 Minutes and Stay Awake. I was able to, every single year, we're going to Belgium, we're doing everything, we're in America, we're doing radio interviews and stuff like that. And you're meeting people and you're seeing the reaction and you're feeling it. And then you go and you look at the YouTube comments and everything's growing and it's exciting. Yeah. I feel like I put a song out and I'm on Mars. I didn't realize it would be like this. Like, it's like you put it out and then you hear good news coming in. It's like, oh, we're on this playlist and we got added to this station. And then you're like, cool. And then you just kind of sit in your house. You just kind of sit here going, oh, all right, so what now? Yeah. And then they go, yeah, we've got a Zoom. You got to do a Zoom acoustic performance. And I'm like, okay. And this is great. Like, I appreciate doing it and I love talking and stuff like that. And I want to do anything I can to promote the music. But the whole goal we were talking about a year and a half ago before all this stuff started was we're going to start coming back and we're going to do the whole promo thing like we did with Be Alright. Like, we're going to hit up everything. And now a year and a half later, I'm in my house and I've just put my song out. And it's like, you know, it's like, this isn't what I signed up for myself. It was like, which is weird because I also realize how lucky I am to have anyone listening in the first place. But you kind of go, I used to say that my thing is songwriting. That's all I really care about. And the live stuff is kind of like, I do it and it's, I like it, but it's not my main focus. Now I get it. And it's like, if you're just going to sit at home and put music out and you can't go and play it, it's just like you kind of go, well, it's like doing half the things
half the job.
And it's just, and I know everyone's struggling with this stuff, man. Like, everyone is like, especially creatives but just anyone. I understand being stuck at home and not being able to go out and do things. I think I am so looking forward to things opening back up again. And I mean, I keep having these calls with my team where I'm like, man, I'm not putting out another song during COVID. Like, I'm just waiting. And they're like, well, you might be waiting 2 years or whatever. And I'm like, you can't wait that long. But
you ended the message. You ended the message with, I'm going to read it just for the people that haven't seen it, saying, "For now, I just want to say thank you for being here. If I have been a little disconnected, it's only because I myself am struggling with this too, but the future is bright." And yes, it is bright. And I think there is a light at the end of the tunnel and stuff. And to be honest, Dean, as soon as you're back over in London, please come and see us. We'd love to. Or as soon as you're doing press runs in Sydney, if someone was to say, come and meet Dean in Sydney, then I'd be on a plane like that. Yeah.
Awesome. That'd be great. Yeah, that's the thing. I do feel disconnected because it's like you kind of, because it's not, it's great and things are awesome, but you kind of go, you struggle a little bit. I struggle a little bit myself not being able to be so isolated, not being able to go out and do this. It's, so it has been a real struggle. I think it's a struggle for a lot of people, but, I can't wait. And it feels like things are slowly starting to open back up. And I know we all can't wait. I just want to get back out there.
Absolutely. Right. Let's get into another track then. This is the title track off of Dean's debut album. His debut album was, of course, called A Place We Knew. And this, yes, is called A Place We Knew on Soundcheck.
That's A Place We Knew on Soundcheck. I'm interested to know, not only with you, to be honest, but just with every artist on the planet, pretty much. Like, can you listen to music whilst you're making an album and whilst you're writing? Not literally in the moment, but like, can you be listening to a song like in the car in the morning and then write a song in the afternoon without worrying like, oh shit, what if I'm copying this accidentally? Or,
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. Well, I think it all starts there anyway. Like subconsciously, it all is just like is an amalgamation, the right word, of melodies and stuff we've all heard. But I think I use other songs as a comparison for quality. So I very early on would do a thing where I was like, okay, I'd write a song. And then I'd play like someone's hit song on guitar in the same key. And I'd be like, is this as good? Like the melodies can be different. The chords are all different. It's a completely different song. But if I could, I'd record on my iPhone the hit song and then I'd record mine and I'd be like, well, mine isn't as good. So, or like be all right. It's like, oh, this could be this could be as good. And then I would just keep going until it sounded as good. And it also gives you a good test of like, if I recorded a song on acoustic guitar and piano, a hit song, a song that's already a hit, if that doesn't sound that good if it's just on your iPhone. And if my song sounds equal to that, then I know that, well, then why doesn't the produced version sound as good? So I would kind of level things up and I wouldn't stop. Like I re-recorded songs so many times until they sounded great. I think a lot of artists don't, they pay someone to produce a song, and I've done this in the past, and they give it to the producer and then you go, but it sounds terrible. And they go, well, sorry, mate, there's not much I can do about that. I don't know why I just did an English accent, but, sorry, mate, can't do anything about that. But, if you want to get back in, and I remember spending like 15 grand of my own money before I got signed, trying to, working on songs and stuff like that. And I have the luxury now of having a record deal where they pay, if you beg, they'll pay someone else to do it. But it is, look, I think I get really inspired when I hear other songs in the morning, and then I get in the studio and then I'm inspired because of the greatness of the song, not necessarily by the specifics. To answer your question. I'm
really interested about this period of time that you spent in Richmond, London. When was that? Was that during the first EP of the making of that, or was that after it? Where did this come about?
I think it was 2016, and I went over there with my manager at the time, and we were staying in this apartment on the Thames. It was right near this bridge. There was a bar on the corner. Anyway, it was a really nice, beautiful spot. England was, I remember the first time I got there and it was cold and it was like I'd seen in the movies, and it was like an alien place for me, especially Richmond. That's like the first place that I went, which is quite a fancy area. But it was just my manager's friend had an apartment there that was empty. So we were just staying there, kind of 2-bedroom joint. And I was just writing, and because they had me doing writing sessions, I was writing with everyone, and it's that whole thing of compile and see if anything sticks. And then I met Nick Atkinson and Ed Holloway in Hitchin, and then wrote Waves, and that sort of changed everything. But I was living in London, living at Richmond, and it was a really, really different world from Australia, obviously. Really, it was actually a cool place to be, to get some new stuff kind of pumping. I came back to Richmond a year ago to go to into the studio with TMS and Plested, and that's where we wrote "Fallen Up." So that was the first time I'd been back since I had nothing when I was in Richmond 5 years ago, like nothing. I was living with my nan. I moved out of my apartment because I had no money, and I had 10 grand and a big tax bill that I had to pay, and then I moved in with my nan. Then I moved with my nan, and then I went to Richmond with my manager, and I didn't even have a record deal, I don't think, yet. I was just like, we'll just giving it a crack. I had a publishing deal, and and then I went back finally, and that's where Falling Up sort of appeared. So that was a cool experience.
Does the place you're in physically have much impact on the music you end up making?
I would say not as much as just being like, it's like fishing, right? Like just always having the bait out and always waiting. And a lot of the time that's just me on my own. Like I'm writing a song today. I've been writing this new song. It's probably going to be the last song on the album. And the ideas are flowing. And then I'm in America and the ideas are flowing. So I lived in LA for a year after I finished my last tour, basically all through 2019 and 2020. I can't remember anymore. 2020. It doesn't really matter as much as long as I'm fishing. It's like people are great, certain people. Like I love working with Nick and Ed because we just have a great thing going on and the songs always turn out so amazing. That's another big thing for artists is like finding your producers and your team is so important. It's so important. And it's almost as important as finding your sound.
Yeah, because they're people you can't shy away from, isn't it? Because, you have to be, if you want to be open and honest in your songs, you have to be open and honest with them, right?
100%. And they have to trust you and know you and also be pointing you in the right direction. I think you have to say no a lot to people. Like you can't be agreeable. You can't let someone else, because someone else will tell you how it should be and then you'll fail or it won't work. And that's a different kind of pain when you fail on someone else's call. I've never had that. I've always failed on my own dumbness. You know what I mean? So, but that's something I always say no. I'm very disagreeable when it comes to like opinions, but also you got to listen when it's right and you got to acknowledge that. That's another thing.
We've teased it a lot, this new song, Falling Up. We've spoken about it a little bit. But let's just go back to it. Dean, it is about reaction or, the feeling you felt as the last 5 years or 4 years happened with the insane success of Be Alright and the album. And it's something that a lot of people have written about and sung about and spoken about as well. This idea that, like you said, you get everything you've ever wanted. And then when you've got it, it's not quite what you maybe thought it would be, or it's not, you didn't enjoy it as much as you thought you would. But I think this is the best way I've ever heard it. And I'm not just saying that because I'm talking to you, but genuinely it is the best. Like, and I've heard a few songs about it, like different people writing similar songs. And this is the best. Honestly, it's amazing.
Thank you. That means a lot. And I know what you mean. It's almost like a bit of a cliche of you get told. I mean, my parents and my dad would always tell me like, it's the journey. It's the journey, man. It's the journey. Like that's where the fun is. And, and it's like on the way up the hill. And when you get there, it's like good for a moment, but then you got to go down or up the next one. And, but for me, it was something that I'm stubborn and I had to learn things myself. And I got to break through the illusion for me. Like it was always every little step along the way. When I finish school or like when I got a job, I'll be happy when I get a promotion or blah, blah, blah. But I got to break through the biggest barrier for me, which is I had a hit song. And Be Right it was big, man. That was a huge tune around the world. And I'm like, that's like something that, I got to experience on it. It's a different level because if I didn't have that, I would always think, well, if I only, because that's something that not everyone gets to have. There's only a few people that get to have that. And so there's that illusion for everyone else. Not saying that I'm different to everyone else. I'm exactly the same. But I just was lucky enough to have that moment where it was like the illusion that most people look at and go, well, I can't get there. That was me. I can't get there. And then I did. And then I'm like, okay, well, God, I'm more stressed. I'm more anxious. And I have things now and I'm not happy at all in a different way, in a, mental health way, in a, what's the point of having all this stuff when all my friends have relationships and I missed my best mate's wedding. Cause it came out on the day of my album, you know what I mean? And I lost friendships. I have not built relationships because I've been gone, family things, you're never there. So you sort of lose touch with people. And I'm like, and I got back and I was like, well, what am I doing? Like, what is this for? Like, what is this? What is this drive for what? Like, what am I going for? And so it's been a real weird year and a half since I finished me going, all right, well, I don't want to get to the end of the next cycle and just be like, have more of things that I don't care about. I want to get to the end of it. And I want to like have built some stuff and build relationships and build things that make me happy. So that's what the Falling Up is really about.
Dean, I don't think we can go without talking about the new video for Falling Up, because it's really great. I think one of the great things about it, and I guess it's a product of the time it was made in, is the environment matches the lyrics of the song so well. Because, you're there talking about feelings of isolation, and then you're in this completely empty casino, hotel, whatever you want to call it. Even aside from making a music video, walking around a completely empty hotel must be quite a weird feeling.
Yeah, it was really cool. I couldn't believe the video when I saw it. Like, and I'm a tough critic of my own stuff. Like always, I'm like, we've had some great videos, but every now and then, like some don't connect as well. And this one was great because it was Tim Mattier's idea with what you're saying with the connection. And he had this idea to go to this like alien, sparse, desolate place where there's hope and dreams and money and possibility, but it's like this undertone of like the actual reality. And that's Vegas. You know what I mean? Yeah. To me, it's like the glitz and the glam and it's Vegas in COVID season. So the Palms was closed. So we basically got to hire the whole casino. I think it was like 15 grand. They let us hire the whole joint, like the whole casino, because no one was in there. It's all shut. And it was cool. The video it reflected the song in such a cool way. The idea of getting a suit on, you're in this hotel room, and then you walk into this show down the hallway and you walk to the casino and you get there and no one's there at the end. And he's just, honestly, man, that guy is a god. Like that director, Tim Mattier. Like I've never seen anything like. He's English as well. He lives in LA. He's just insane. Like in the editing of that, I messaged him just saying, dude, you're a freak, man. This video is just insane.
I think the way that it makes it insane is because you watch it and you go, how has no one ever thought of this? Like the video is just genius.
You know why? I think it's just because the cost of doing it, if it wasn't COVID, would probably be like you can't do it. You know what I mean? I don't think you can afford it.
That's true. You can't just book out an LA casino.
Yeah, I don't think you can. I don't think you can. I think it's possible,
What motivated you to put yourself front and center? Because obviously this isn't the first time you've been in one of your videos, but there's not a lot of moving parts to this, really. It's just you, really. So that must put a fair amount of pressure on.
And I always love being out of the videos, like in my past, because I don't need the attention. But this one, my manager called me and she was like, you really got to bring in this one, because they're like, it's all on you. And so they actually hired me a movement coach. So there was this guy, because it was so LA, man. I went to this dance studio in LA and he like taught me all these like moves and and he was on set and he would be like, hey Dean, he'd like just really get into it. He'd be like, we had these like, put my hands like with the lyrics, so these gestural movements that match the lyrics of the song. And that was really cool because I get really embarrassed. I'm like English Australian. We don't like, I don't want to I feel like a wanker how I'm moving. But he would come in and be like, Dean, what you're doing is great. Go further. He'd be like, just do something crazier. And it was cool because then I didn't feel like an idiot. I was like, oh, okay, I'm being encouraged. But yeah, the video turned out so well.
Yeah, I mean, because I think it's like it would be weird doing that. Because I saw on the Vivo, I can't remember what they're called, Vivo footnote thing. There were 40 people recording that. That's insane.
Oh, it was a big clip. Yeah, it was a big crew. Because I think we had to shoot so much in a day, but I'm glad it turned out good. Because it's like if you get that many people on one and it turns out not good, it's like, oh, it's not good.
Yeah,
double nightmare.
Keeping on this visual element of you have announced that there is going to be a documentary on the way. To be honest, I love these behind the record style documentaries. I presume that's kind of what it's following. But what's really, really interesting is you said before that what kind of got you into music or made you want to go and write your first album or your EP was after your parent or your dad showed you the Oasis Brothers documentary. And that's pretty crazy that now you're making your own one, isn't it? I mean, to me, that's pretty crazy, but it's exciting.
Yeah. It's a documentary on the making of Falling Up. And that's so true. I mean, Yeah, I guess it's really weird. I feel like I've lived multiple lives in the sense of, you know, when you're 26 or 27, you haven't got a record deal and you haven't and I was a sound recorder, so the guy with the boom pole, you know what I mean? And you're like, it's just so weird to think the last 5 years have been completely different. You know, you sort of feel like you're unheard and you're just sort of, you know, on the job I was doing, when you're a sound recorder, it's like when I was getting trained, they were like, you did a good job when no one even notices you there. So going from that to being on stage and having my best mate shoot a documentary that's turned out really cool and answering questions, it's like I feel like I'm just in an alternate universe now, and I've sort of forgotten how it used to be. But it is cool, and I love Oasis, and I guess it is a trip to see it all kind of coming back in.
Yeah, well, I'm really, really excited to see it, and I am so ready, and I know, well, there's a billion people ready to hear this second album. Can I ask when we could be hearing it, or if there's a name at all? Or is that something that you could...
I've actually been thinking of a name. I don't know yet. I've been thinking of names. Look, all I can say is it's the best album I've ever done. And I know everyone says that. You know, you got to say it. It's the best album, man. Trust me. and then it turns out and you're like, It's terrible. But it's like, you know, I think, as I said, there's 3 songs, Half Man, Waves, Be Alright. Like, you know, they meant something, and there's like a universal, like afterwards looking, there's like they connected universally. And that wasn't the intention, but they meant something. They were about something specific. And I think I've at least got like 5 or 6 on this album that I would put in the same category of those. And those songs are the hardest ones to write, where it's like, it's not just a great song melodically and lyrically. It hits on something that is so personal and real that it's, you know, I'm just so excited about. And I really just decided on this album to go for it. Like, I'm just going for it. So the songs, I'm not holding back.
So Dean, thank you so much for joining us. It means so much. We love speaking to you, and we love the music you're putting out, and we cannot wait for this next album. What do you want to get from this next album? Perhaps that, I suppose you did just kind of answer that, which was like you were saying you want to get to the end of it, and then maybe after the next 5 years and not have the same feelings that you did when you wrote Falling Up. Is that kind of what you want from it, or is there more than that? I mean, you know, there's the physical things that are like you want to get and do an arena tour around Australia and things like that. But what is there anything else that maybe you've thought about that you really want from this next period in your life?
Yeah, look, the honest answer is I just want to it's just a drive that I always have, is just to write and try to write great songs. Like, I'm just always trying to beat what I did last time, and not necessarily so much in the sense of like streams and stuff like that, although I do want to have more successful songs. I just want to beat the songwriting, and I want the songs just to be better in general. And so I just continuously am getting better at what I'm doing, and hopefully it keeps growing and people connect with it and it helps people. And but I just want to keep fulfilling this drive to keep creating, and it's the songs are flowing out and they just keep flowing out. So I just keep writing them down, and I guess that's what I'd say.
Amazing. Dean, thank you so much. Good luck with the rest of the album, and we cannot wait to hear it. And hopefully, like I said, if you're over in London, we'd love to speak to you, or like I said, I'll be on a plane to Sydney as soon as I can if I'm allowed to come and interview you over there and you're doing a press run or whatever. But yeah, thank you on behalf of Soundcheck, everyone that's listening, thank you. And Dean, we're going to finish with your song Waves.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. Really appreciate it. It was a great chat.